I feel so studious today because I actually have a notebook with notes for all my stuff because there's a lot of finished objects today, which is really exciting. And yeah, you should buckle up because I feel like it's going to be a long one. I feel like I have a lot to say about everything. And honestly, you should just expect that from my podcast because if I delay like filming the podcast for a few days, all of a sudden I have like new finished objects that were planned to be acquisitions in the podcast and now are finished objects. So anyway, hi, welcome or welcome back. I'm Natalie and this is my channel knitalee where I talk about all of my creative endeavors. I'm currently hyperfixated on knitting, but I also do pottery and I recently got some beads and I've been playing around with that, which I'll show later too. And yeah, this is just an outlet for all of my creative stuff. And so yeah, let's get started. Let's start with what I'm wearing because this was a finished object in my last podcast. It is the Vilma top by Gregoria Fibers, and I knit mine in Sandnes Garden Pure Gint in the color cacao, I think is what it's called. And last episode, I had rainbow buttons, which I feel like a lot of people in the comments really liked. But I have since changed them to be white buttons. I feel like the white buttons just make it a little bit more wearable for me. And I feel like it allows me to wear a dark colored like item with lighter colors rather than it being so like harsh of a transition between those. So and I've been really enjoying wearing it. I think the only issue that I've noticed recently is that I wish it was a little bit longer. So if I were to knit another one, I might add another repeat or something like that. But I probably won't knit another one. I feel like the one is enough. But just in the alternate universe, Natalie, I hope she knits one repeat longer for this. But yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and I kind of want to knit another like little vest like this, button up specifically. I feel like I just really like the detail of the buttons, and I don't want to talk too much about this because you've already heard about it, and there's a lot to get to. So I'm trying to limit myself today. Although I don't know if you could tell, but for some reason I have a lot of energy, and I don't know if it's just because I haven't talked like I haven't filmed a podcast in a while, so I feel like there's lots to blab about. And yeah, so anyways, let's get into some of my finished objects. My first one, and I think it's the only thing that well, some of my whips were maybe from last podcast, but this is like the only like finished object that was a whip last episode, and all my other finished objects you haven't seen before, unless you follow me on Instagram, obviously. But these are what I'm calling my color block socks. These were self-drafted. I believe they are 64 stitches knit on US or 2.5 millimeter needles, I believe. I did a 1x1 twisted folded cuff for this little blue section, and then a 3x1 twisted, I guess, cuff. And then I knit them pretty long, and then I did a contrast heel, just a heel flap and gusset, which I always thought was kind of not the right heel to do a contrast heel with, but it actually works out pretty well. It doesn't look weird as like for some reason my brain a heel flap and gusset, the heel part is pretty like thin versus if you do a contrast heel and maybe like an afterthought heel or something, which I haven't done yet. I feel like it's more of like a noticeable heel transition, but I actually think that these look pretty good. And then I did a contrast toe as well. Most of these colors are laying Jawoll, and except for the blue, this light blue color is a secondhand yarn I got from Seattle Recreative, and I really like this color combination. I definitely prefer this sock over this sock, which I ran out of the brown yarn because the Lang Jawoll, they're smaller than I thought, so I thought I was going to have enough for 2 socks, but I didn't. So I did a red contrast band here on this toe, and I posted about this on Instagram, but I feel like I've been like wanting to lose a game of yarn chicken so I could have some creative problem solving, and that's what this sock is. And yeah, I do really like it. I think I mentioned in my last podcast, I feel like I might have an issue with like too many colors being in the same thing, that it makes it difficult to pair with other things in my closet. And I kind of feel that with this, especially if I'm just wearing these around the house with no shoes on. I feel like this is really bold of a color pairing to like poke into my feet, and it's a little bit visually distracting for me. But the reason that I did these so tall is because in my brain, I felt like I could wear pants and regular shoes. And if you like see my sock poking out, you would see mostly just brown. So that was like the kind of goal with these, is that they would be colorful and crazy, but like if I'm like really wearing them, they would just be a brown sock. That was the goal. But I don't know if I would do something that's like crazy again, but we'll see. TBD. I think I'm still trying to figure out my perfect sock formula too. And I have some new yarn. I'll talk about like I guess what my plan is for my next socks later in the acquisition section. But yeah, I feel like the main issue that I'm having is that the width of the foot after the gusset, it feels like my foot slips around in the fabric. It doesn't feel like they're too big, they're just like the circumference stretches out a little bit and my foot slips around. So what I'm debating doing for future socks is decreasing more in the gusset. So the gusset would be actually longer than like, and I would have less stitches here on the foot than I like cast it on for. Yeah. And then the other piece too is I'm still figuring out my ribbing. So I have another finished object I'll talk about what I did for ribbing then, I guess. Okay. The second finished socks that I have, these are a test knit I did for at StitchedbyCleo, and they are called the Miss Lady socks, and they're very cute. They're like these little ladybug socks. I knit these again with the Lang Jawoll yarns in a green, a red, and the black part of the ladybugs are actually navy, which you can't really tell. It looks pretty dark. And yeah, I was so excited to test knit these. Ladybugs are really important to me and mean a lot to me, so I'm really happy to have little ladybug socks in my collection. Ladybug was actually my first tattoo for my aunt who passed away like 15 years ago from cancer, and she used to flip houses, and I would help her like growing up when I was a kid, and we would paint giant ladybugs on the walls before they like actually painted the walls, so that the house, like there'd be good luck in the house for the future family whoever lived there. And yeah, they just always remind me of her. I feel like I see them a lot in my life, so I think it's really cute to have little ladybug socks too. These were one of my first color work, actually might be my first color work sock. And I was trying to be really aware of my floats, catching my floats and making sure that they were long enough so that my foot could go into them. And I would say that they're barely long enough. If I were to knit these again, I would, or just in general, like colorwork socks, I would be like over exaggerate how long my floats should be, because these I can kind of barely get on. No fault to the pattern at all. The pattern is like really, really beginner friendly, really well written. Kudos to Cleo for writing such a clear pattern. And I would recommend it if you are new to knitting socks and want to try it out. But they have a little rolled top, I guess, cuff, and a 1x1 rib section, 3 rows of the ladybugs, a heel flap and gusset, and then this contrast toe situation. I feel like I kind of want to knit these again with just 1 row of ladybugs up at the top, and I feel like that would be a really cute, like simple little detail. But nevertheless, I really like these. And I got this green yarn because it matches my green Super Berkeys really well. And so I feel like when I wear them together, I'm like, it's just so cute together. So yeah, love these little guys. Really happy with these. Okay, next up is my thick striped Olga sweater. This is probably one of my favorite sweaters that I've ever made. I'm just like very proud of it, and it feels very me. And if you watched my little like planning my fall plans kind of video, I did a little ideation session for like some sweater ideas that I had and styled it with some pieces in my closet to see how it like looked together. And the one that I was most interested in knitting was this. So it is, yeah, thick striped sweater with Camarose Snefnug. I used a dark gray and a dark brown stripes. And yeah, so I used the Olga pattern, but a lot of it was like my own decisions. Like I really only used it for stitch count cast on reference and how to do like the drop shoulder construction. I think I did the collar exactly the same, but any of the decreases on the sleeves and the length of the body and like the ribbing and stuff like that was my own decisions. And I'll talk through those modifications as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just like so proud of this and I love this so much and it feels so cool to like have like to see the process of the idea, like seeing if the idea will actually work, playing around with like how it would actually come to be, and like now that it exists in the world. Like that's so cool. I love creating. I feel like it's just so fun to be able to like make things come to life. So okay, let's talk about the modifications that I did. So in my original vision, actually my intention for this was that the main pieces, so the collar, the hem, the cuffs, would be in the dark brown color, and then the gray would sit on the shoulders and start the stripe pattern. Eventually, I decided that it would look better if the gray collar, if the collar was gray. So yeah, I started it with the lighter color and just did 28 row repeats. When I originally sketched out like the number of stripes and like the number of rows for how thick the stripes should be, I referenced the picture that was in the pattern for the Olga sweater and just like sketched out like if these mini stripes were the gray, these mini stripes were the brown, etc. And it seemed like I wanted 7 rows of the stripes, and the Olga sweater is a 4-row stripe. And so that would be 28 rows. Ultimately, that wasn't like accurate because I didn't really count like the shoulder shaping stripes. But anyway, I just kind of went with 28 row stripes. And then the only thing that was different that I did was I did more stripes for this first gray stripe is more than 28. I don't know how many it actually is, but I wanted to make sure that it sat below the bottom of the collar here. I think I did this on my other Olga sweater too. I really don't like the Olga sweater how it has the same color as the collar meets the same color stripe right at the tip. So on my other Olga, I also started with the opposite color stripe so that it would shift that. And for this one, I just had to do more rows so that I wouldn't get that like harsh line of the next color stripe right below the collar. And then in order to make it so this stripe doesn't appear as like way bigger than the normal like 28 stitch stripe, what I also did was change the rate of increases for the collar shaping. And so I believe this is like shorter than how it's supposed to be. I can't quite remember exactly how the construction is for the collar because it was a while ago, but yeah, I just know that I did it a little bit shorter than it called for in the pattern. And then the most exciting thing I think that I've discovered in this sweater is I did a combination knitting ribbing for both the cuff and the hem of this. Part of why I think this looks really good is because of the yarn, because it's like this fluffy, bulky weight yarn on like small needles, so it doesn't like feel that noticeable. But I don't know how well you can see this, but this ribbing almost doesn't even look like ribbing. It's so nicely done, and I'm really proud of it. If you don't know, combination knitting is where it's a common solve for an issue if you have really loose pearls, which is something, if you've been following my podcast, is something that I've been struggling with ribbing specifically, and my pearls being looser. When I knit flat, it's easy because I could just have my purling needle be smaller than my other needles, so I don't have any rowing out. But for ribbing, I was struggling with the pearls being looser than the knits, so my ribbing actually ends up being, and you can tell in like the sock, my ribbing actually ends up being wider than just straight stockinette, because my knit stitches end up being just smaller than my knits plus my pearls combined. And so combination knitting, what you do is, instead of when you wrap your yarn around your purling needle, you do it clockwise. For combination knitting, you do it counterclockwise, so it uses less yarn in the actual stitch for it, but what happens is it then twists that stitch. So combination knitting, you wrap the purl stitch around counterclockwise, and then when you go for the next row, the stitch is twisted, so you just have to do that through the back loop. So only the first row is like normal, and then the rest are, you just purl through the back loop counterclockwise, and it uses less yarn for the purl stitches, so it has like a tighter cinch. And yeah, I'm just really happy with that discovery, and I'm really excited to like just keep doing that for other things. And I'm planning on doing potentially a full sock in that, and seeing how that kind of comes out. The only thing that I wish for this is that I decreased some stitches before I did the ribbing for the end of the sweater. I really wanted the sweater to be an oversized sweater that fits really similar to a crew neck sweatshirt, because I'm a huge crew neck sweatshirt person. I wear them almost every day, and I wanted to be able to transition that piece of my wardrobe into hand knit sweaters. And what I do with those sweatshirts often is I tuck under the ribbing of the bottom underneath like the base of the sweater, so it has this kind of like balloony shape, and then kind of like cinches in a little bit before my pants start. And I wanted to be able to do that with this one. But the ribbing, although the ribbing is like really nice, because this is so oversized, it doesn't cinch as much as I wanted it to be cinched. So I think if I were to knit a sweater like this again, which I feel like this might be one of my perfect formulas for the shape and size and fit of a sweater, so I definitely feel like I will knit something like this again. My plan would be to decrease kind of rapidly right before the cuff. I don't know like exactly the quite ratio that I would want to do, but I did that for the sleeves. So you can kind of see here, I can't remember the exact ratio that I did, but for the sleeves, I decreased every 14th row, just because it was easy for me to keep track of halfway through the stripe. So halfway through the stripe, when the stripe transitions, halfway, etc. And then I decreased a bunch more at the end of the cuff. And you can kind of see, like, this is how I feel like normal people's ribbing would look without that rapid decrease. And although I did the combination knitting, it's still not as snug as how I feel like I see other people's ribbing. But yeah, I would do that for the body if I were to knit another sweater like this. And yeah, I am really happy with it, and I'm really excited for it to be cooler outside so I could just wear this all the time, and I love it with everything that I've tried it on with. And I'm really happy with it. yeah, this yarn, this Camarose Snefnug is super nice and fluffy, and I would love to use it again. I feel like it's like ever so slightly that touch of itchiness, which I feel like a lot of people would think I'm just like, it's absurd that I'm even saying that about this yarn. But there is this like, I don't really even know how to describe it, but I feel like for me it's the perfect amount of itch. It's not even itchy. I don't I don't really know like the right word to describe it, but like maybe more so just like I notice the fiber on it rather than like just like a normal cotton sweatshirt. Um, yeah, but I'm really happy with it. So that is this one. If you have any other questions about like how I did the stripes or anything, let me know. But yeah, I'm sure you'll see this a lot moving forward on Instagram and such. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to say about that. I think I'm good. Okay. The next finished object is really exciting. It is my Blomstra beanie. It is still a little bit damp because I've been patiently waiting for this to be blocked. So I'm going to try to be a little bit delicate with it. But this is the Blomstra beanie by Kajsa Vuorela. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but it is this really beautiful colorwork beanie. I knit mine in a really beautiful color combination, inspired by these crocus flowers that I've seen in my neighborhood, that are just like this really fluorescent, pinky, purpley lavender color. I saw them in the spring this year too, and they just bloomed like around the base of a tree, which I thought was really cool. I don't know if I'm assuming somebody planted them, but they bloomed again a few weeks ago, which was really interesting to me because it was like, the end of summer. But I just fell in love with the color combination of those bright neon flowers and then the cool brown of the tree. So I got these yarns to mimic that. The brown in this is polka dot sheep yarn worsted, which is a superwash yarn in the color Beartooth. Polka dot sheep yarn is the same company that I used for my Zakuri cardigan back when I got yarn from them when I visited Montana in January, and so I knew about them from that. But I don't think I would have heard about them without that. And I've kind of had my eye on this Beartooth brown color for a while because it is just like this perfect cool brown and has just an ever so subtle variegation to it, that I really like the look of. I feel like it's not an overwhelming hand-dyed variegation that like is distracting. I feel like it's just the right amount that adds a little bit of dimension to this color work. And yeah, I'm really happy with that choice. And then the pink yarn is from the Wandering Flock. It's their worsted weight yarn in the color Electric Orchid. When I originally like had the idea for this pattern in this like color combination, the pattern recommends a mohair, like a lace weight, and a sport weight yarn. And when I was originally looking for yarn for this, I fell in love with the mohair version of this electric orchid color, and I wanted to pair it with something, and then I don't know, it just ended up being where the total price for a beanie would be over $100, and that just felt really absurd to me. And I posted a poll. I was like, is this absurd to like spend this much on a beanie? And I feel like a lot of the responses were like, yeah, find something cheaper. So what I ended up doing was I took my favorite colors of the options, and instead of getting like the sport weight version and the mohair, I just got the worsted weight version. So I think each of them were like 30 something dollars. So this beanie is like 60 something dollars total, which still feels like a lot for a beanie, but it feels a lot more reasonable than over $100. And yeah, I think it was worth it because I'm really, really obsessed with this color combination. And I'm really looking forward to wearing it when it starts getting cooler, especially with my like winter jacket is like a green, like an olive green puffer coat, and I think this will look really good with that olive green color. Yeah, and I also think this is a pretty good color like for me, so I'm excited to wear it. Again, I've been like patiently waiting for it to dry because I feel like I could honestly have worn it today or yesterday, but it's just been drying and it's been taking forever to dry. I think it's because it's worsted weight color work, so there's a lot of floats in there. I did make a modification to this. It's a really interesting construction. Actually, I'm going to turn it inside out. So you start with casting on and knitting some solid color like into your darker or your like the base color, and then you fold that. You start the color work and then you knit those stitches together. You knit a chunk of the color work chart, which ends up being, I don't even think I can show you this right. Do it inside out again. So this is the first part you knit, and then you end up folding this in half over on top of itself, and then you do like a short row or something. Well, not really even short row. You just change the direction that you're knitting, so then you knit the like from the wrong side becomes the right side, and you knit the second chart, and then decrease at the top. And the chart is actually like 15 rows longer than what I knit. I am the type of person that wears a beanie that like doesn't cover their ears. I just like it for some reason. I feel like it's more flattering even though it's less functional. But I do have, and I think this will come up like in the future, but I've knit a few bonnets. Well, they're not even bonnets. They're just more like headbands with a bow that you tie, and I really like wearing those underneath my beanies as like my ear warmth protector. And so I feel like I might knit like a pink one of those in the leftover of this so that I could have like an ear flap situation to cover my ears, but I just prefer the length of it. Yeah, so for this one I just started the chart later than what it said for the second chart, and the way I just chose where to start that is by how it would look once this was folded up. So you can kind of see, I'll probably insert some better pictures, but this is a good example right here where the leaf, if I were to continue this chart, it would have another leaf here, and so I just started the chart after like where the fold would be. And yeah, I'm really happy with that decision, and I'm really excited to like actually fully try this on when it's dry. It's not like not dry, it's just like slightly damp, and I want it to just be fully dry. But yeah, I was really inspired by, I don't know if you've seen the like Arc'teryx beanies. I don't know if they were popular last year or the year before, but they're just like a colorwork-ish beanie, with the Arc'teryx like bones, like a dinosaur bone or something like that logo. And I always thought that was really cool, like the amount of color work that was on it. And so I'm happy now to have my own little colorwork beanie that kind of is like an homage to that one. But I'm already like thinking about how I could make my own chart to like reuse this pattern, and I feel like it'd be really fun. My idea currently is to do like a warm brown and a cobalt blue, and then the cobalt blue being like a horse running motif. Could be really fun, like just on the brim here. I think that could be really cute. But you know, my ideas are ever changing, and I have a whole notes app, like scrolling of notes, of knitting ideas. But that's just like my current one that was from yesterday. Okay, that is that. I don't think I have anything else to say about it, other than I'm just like really happy. Oh, I do have something to say about it. I started this on Sunday morning because that's when I got the yarn delivery, and I knit it like pretty much all day except for like 10 rows that I knit on yesterday morning. And yeah, I knit it really, really, really fast, like in less than 24 hours. And I did want to talk about it because I like had it in my Instagram post, but I want to like clarify my speed of knitting um, is not healthy, and I wouldn't like tell anybody else to knit something super fast. I was diagnosed with ADHD, and my like variation of ADHD is that I like hyperfixate on something, which is why it's like that word is in my intro, because I will literally just like a nonstop focus on something until like I don't know, I physically can't anymore. And this was a case for that. Like I barely drank any water, like I didn't do anything. The only thing that I did was like take Elmer outside, and then like my brain was like, you have to knit, you have to knit this. Not that there was any reason. It's not like it's like I like was going on a trip and I needed a beanie, or like it wasn't like there was a reason for it. My brain was just like hyper fixated on the color work chart. And I feel like there is, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I need to like not do color work because it might not be like healthy for me. But yeah, I did want to mention that because I feel like it could come across that I'm like knitting super duper fast, and I don't want anybody to feel like the pressure to do that because it doesn't feel healthy to do that. And yeah, I need to like figure out how to like work on that within myself, and like balancing all of the other things that I want to be doing, and like taking care of my physical body, and like eating and drinking water, and like taking care of my home, and all those things that I like push aside when I'm hyperfixated on my craft. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but I did want to touch on that a little bit. Okay, my last finished object are these little like Adidas shorts inspired shorts. I have been like really craving the track pants. I have some saved on Depop, like the Adidas track pants, and specifically in this color combination where it's navy and then this like bright blue as the stripe. And my problem with track pants is a lot of the times they're like polyester, and they get really staticky and like swish weird on my body, and like I I don't always love the feel of them. I have one pair that I really like, but I ordered another pair off Depop in like a similar color combination to this, and I just like really don't like how they feel, and so I really wanted to have some kind of cottony version of them. So I decided to use the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the navy blue color that I was knitting a June bug top in my last podcast that ultimately just like didn't really feel right for me. The June bug top is like kind of a wider raglan like form fitting top with like a little keyhole cut out on the like the front and the chest area, and I just like it just didn't feel me. It felt too, I don't know, tight. And so I wanted to like repurpose that yarn for some shorts. So the pattern that I used for this was a reference. I referenced the Lottapants pattern by lesfillesducoeur. No idea how to pronounce that. Apologies. But my gauge was very different from what the pattern recommends. So I did like some math to figure out, what the size that I wanted to make, and what measurement that size and the stitches that it tells you to cast on ended up being, to figure out the stitches that I wanted to cast on in my gauge to end up being those measurements. And then I just kind of followed the formula for the short construction from that pattern, but like everything else was just kind of like I like eyeballed it. But essentially, you knit a waistband, you fold it over, and then you increase on the front, or you do short rows for the butt area, and then you do some increases in the center front and the center back until you have the rise that you want, and then you split for legs. And yeah, that one is a pants pattern, but I knit the shorts, or I knit a shorts version originally, so I only really used that pattern because I already had it. And yeah, and then I did a really subtle split curve hem here using short rows. So I figured out the place where I wanted like the side to be, and then I knit like to one before that, and then did a short row all the way around, and then like went back and forth a few times. I think I were to knit these again, which I do want to knit again, I would do a different, or like do it slightly different so that it would be like more noticeable, because you really can't tell that this is a split curve hem at all. But yeah. And then I did an I-cord bind off, and I'm really happy with how the I-cord bind off looks on this. I switched to the bright blue color, and I switched my needle size down to like one of my smallest needles. I think in my like Chiagu set, I think it's a US 3, I think, and I felt like that was just like really nice detail. And then I duplicate stitch 3 stripes down the sides on both sides. And then I also decided that I wanted to do similar to how like the Adidas shorts have like the little Adidas logo on the side. I decided to do this little like flower duplicate stitch situation here. I don't love how this turned out, so I feel like I'm going to rip this out and maybe do something else. I also think that I would do it on the other leg, because that's naturally where it feels like it should be, on the right leg, and I just was not reflecting my image quite right when determining where to do it. But yeah, I don't know. It's not the best. It's just like this little like kind of flower thing, and yeah, I want to redo it because I don't really love the like shape and look of it. But if you were following along on Instagram with this, I was a little bit worried when I was knitting this because they were very form-fitted, and I originally wanted a pretty long, baggy, like basketball shorts, and I was worried that they were going to be like too tight. But I know from my first lot of shorts that I made, they stretch out a lot. Those were also a cotton merino blend, and so I was imagining if these would stretch out a lot as well. But when I blocked them, I did block the width of this pretty aggressively so that they would be like a pretty baggy shorts. And I did wear them all day yesterday, and I slept in them last night to kind of see if they like the bagginess would like wear into them, and it totally did. They're like pretty baggy now, which is good. And I think that what the great thing about knitting shorts and putting an elastic band on the inside of them is that the elastic band isn't going to stretch out, but the rest of it can, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. And essentially, I wanted it to happen because I wanted a baggy short. And yeah, overall, I'm like pretty happy with them. The only issue that I've really noticed is that they're already pilling a ton between my legs, which happens in pretty much every bottom that I wear. Like my thighs are just like, just like have a lot of friction. And I'm not really sure what to do about that. If anyone has any ideas, what I was debating was if I were to like knit shorts again like this, is adding like a piece of thread and including that in my stitches around this area to like hopefully protect those stitches a little bit more. But it's really not the end of the world. It's just like something that I want to be mindful about in case that they like thin out too much and I need to like reinforce it. But overall, really like that. Yeah, I have an idea for how to maybe make them a little bit baggier, and I want to play around with that idea. So I originally wanted to knit these because I've been really into the like basketball shorts kind of look as well, and I think I just like chickened out a little bit on that because the basketball shorts feel like almost like a little bit of a trend in like the fashion world right now, and I was worried about, I don't know, not feeling like super great in that trend. But yeah, I wanted like a knee length baggy short to kind of mimic that. And so I'm thinking about knitting a pair similar to this, where I do more of a rapid increase right after the waistband. So do the waistband pretty much exactly the same because it's perfect. Rapidly increase right after the waistband, and then do the increases on the center and the back, so that the waistband is perfectly fine, and then it just like all of a sudden gets baggier. I feel like that would look pretty good. Hopefully, if we'll see. And then the other thing with this too is because they stretched out, I would keep in mind the rise. I wanted these to be like right underneath my belly button, but I have to wear them higher because of the stretched out like of the fabric, which is fine. It's not the end of the world for these to be like higher waisted, because they're still really comfortable. But yeah, I want to make sure that if I knit these again, that I am mindful of these growing a little bit. But yeah, the other version that I want to make for these, I'm thinking of doing like a warm dark gray color, and I have like silver silk yarn. I think it's Malabrigo Mora, and a lime greeny yellow color. I feel like those colors would be really cool, and they match my like Brooks running shoes, and I feel like that could be like a fun little combination for the stripe down the side. It was like a silver and a yellowy green and a dark gray. So yeah, I feel like I got a lot of messages on Instagram about these, and like if there were a pattern for these. So I feel like a little bit hesitant to dive into like pattern writing world, but I feel like that is something that I could see myself doing in the future. These, because I like mostly referenced a specific pattern. I don't know what the rules are around like how much you have to like tweak a pattern or be inspired by somebody's pattern for it to be like its own pattern. So I don't really know. I don't know. Let me know if your guys' thoughts on that. Because everything is just kind of like mimicking each other, right? Like there's only, so many ways to do a drop shoulder, for example. The only really difference is like the stitch count and the details, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, if you have questions on how I did this or anything, like let me know. But I think I am gonna try to do another pair. But I don't know like where that falls in my like queue of stuff, I guess. I think that's all I have to say about that. And I think that's all my finished objects. So that's really exciting that we're already through those. Next, let's talk about some whips. I'm trying to figure out the order that I want to do these in. I'll start with the one that'll probably be my main whip. And it is this gift knit. This is a gift knit from my grandma, and it is the April cardigan by PetiteKnit. I have done the body and yeah, pretty much just the body. It looks super teeny tiny, which is really interesting because obviously I normally like oversized items. My grandma is a really small person, and so this is the extra small size, and it's really interesting knitting an extra small. Like it feels like it goes by really way quicker because there's obviously just like less knitting to do. I am worried that I didn't do this long enough, but I think with blocking it'll stretch out. I can always undo it and redo the ribbing. It's not like the end of the world for me. But I'm knitting this holding the Knitting for Olive Merino in the color Eucalyptus with the Knitting for Olive Cashmere, or Compatible Cashmere, I think, in the color Dusty Aqua. I'll show you them individually, but this is the Merino and Eucalyptus, and this is the Compatible Cashmere in Dusty Aqua. And yeah, this is like the combination of these colors I feel like is my grandma's favorite color, and so they wouldn't be necessarily colors that I would pick, but I'm really excited to knit in like her favorite color, and I really like how subtle the variegation is. I think this will be really good for my grandma, so I hope she'll like it. And this pattern is, it's the April cardigan by PetiteKnit. It's not a pattern that I have seen a lot of people knit before, but my grandma really wanted a tighter fitting V-neck cardigan, and so we like looked at a bunch on Ravelry, and she ended up picking a PetiteKnit pattern, and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I know her writing is clear and all that stuff. And this is my first time doing a contiguous shoulder, I think is what it's called. And it was really interesting to knit like a new technique. I feel like I had a lot of fun like learning about it, and that's one of my favorite things about knitting is like you can constantly be learning new things and like pushing yourself, and like everything is like pretty easy because you just like learn how to do the thing that you then do. But yeah, the only issue that I had with the contiguous sleeves in the pattern is you have to do make one right and make one left on the purl side, and the purl side, make one right and make one left, are really confusing to me, like on which way to actually do it, because for make one right and make one left on the knit side, I always am like make one right is in the rear, so you go from the back to the front. And for the purl side, I can never remember if like you do it the same way as the knit side or you have to do the opposite because the rear is then the front. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think I did it wrong because it doesn't look quite right, but I don't think anybody else would know that it's not right because I think it's just this little section here. And it looks fine. It's really not that big of a deal if I did it wrong, which I still don't really know. So, yeah, this is a really soft combination. I'm really curious if anyone else is knit with the Knitting for Olive cashmere because I haven't heard too many things about it, and just like cashmere in general. But it's knitting up really soft and like I don't know, it's just like a really nice fabric. I was skeptical to use a mohair because I don't know my grandma's sensitivity to that. And then I originally was gonna like get 2 strands of the merino and hold it together, like the same color combination as this. I don't know, I just felt like I wanted to like level it up a little bit, so that's why I'm trying the cashmere. So I'm curious how it'll wear, and I'm hoping that she'll love it and she'll cherish it. I was in a really good routine though of I was knitting my Adidas shorts at the same time as this, and what I was doing is every time I ran out of a ball of yarn, I would switch projects. So if you have multiple projects and you're having trouble balancing them, I would recommend that technique because it was just a really nice way to like go back and forth in like a clear stopping point. And yeah, so we'll see how this goes, and yeah, I'll keep you all updated. Gift knits are hard though, so if you're working on your little holiday gifts, I wish you luck. Okay, we'll just switch to my other gift knit, which you've seen before in pretty much every single episode because I am attempting to make socks for my boyfriend. So this is the Rowan Felted Tweed. I can never remember the color. And it is a 2x2 rib sock. I finished the first one. I think I had this finished sock in the last one. And I'm just like recording this again so that I can like, get on blah blah blah. I don't know. Gift knits are just really hard. I feel very selfish of a knitter. But yeah, I don't know. TBD on that. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm not going to make any promises, but hopefully at some point it gets finished. Okay, moving on. My next whip is this little tea towel. I started this a few weeks ago and I haven't touched it since, but I got the Rose Knitwear knit book, and I got it because I wanted to knit the upstream sweater potentially, and I got the book before I realized that, or before Rose Knitwear released the upstream pattern as a digital pattern instead of just in the book, which is like a little bit unfortunate, but either way, it's nice to have like a knitting book. And one of the other patterns in that is for a little tea towel in the linen stitch. I feel like that was something that's really interesting in that book, is all the different stitch patterns that are in there, and it's fun to like just do something a little bit different than, you know, ribbing or stockinette or like the lace in this top or whatever. Yeah, and so I had a lot of fun like at first, and then I just like completely like stopped working on it. The yarns that I'm using for this are, I'm using the Lanes du Nord in soft lino. It's 80% linen and 20% Pima cotton. I got this at Acorn Street Shop a while ago with the intentions of knitting a tank top in it, and then ultimately like frogged it because I didn't think this color would be right for me. So I just have this yarn, and I think it's discontinued, so I wasn't sure what to do with the like balls that I had of it. So that's one of the colors in here. I also have the leftover Kelborn Mullins Mojave in the color Cactus Green that I used for my Sunny Tea. And then I also have this like baby yellow cotton, or mercerized cotton that I thrifted at Goodwill. And each of these yarns on its own are really soft and nice, but together they're pretty rough, which is good for a little tea towel because that means that it would actually like dry things, actually wipe things up, which is really exciting. But it does mean that it's been really hard on my hands to knit with, and so I haven't been like, you know, wanting to like continue knitting on this. And I think the main culprit is the yellow. So yeah. The other culprit too is that I'm using this like really chunky fixed silver metal circular needle. That was like one of the first like needles that I got secondhand when I was starting to knit. Honestly, maybe that's more of a culprit than the yarn. So I may have to like switch this to my Chiagas and see if that helps me like finish it. The other option, like if it really is the yellow yarn that I was thinking, is I could switch the yellow yarn to a different color. And so the brown and the teal green would carry, and then it would shift to another color. So we'll see. I just thought the color combination was like kind of fun, like as like a stash yarn project. If you have like cotton linen yarns around, I would definitely recommend doing tea towels because they're really fun and like a unique, you know, project to work on that's like more of a homeware. And so this is what the front side looks like, and then the back side is this. I feel like it looks more impressive than it actually is to knit. It's really just like knitting one and slipping one kind of thing. Yeah. The other thing that I was thinking about is I could just like cast off essentially and do the border around it and have it be like a smaller little one if I like don't feel like finishing it. But I do want to like now that I'm looking at it again, I think it is pretty fun. So yeah, I don't know. I wanted to make several of these because I really hate my like kitchen dish towels. So we'll see, because I don't know if it's the stitch or the needles or the yarn or whatever that's hard on my hands, but that is such a blocker for knitting. Okay, moving on to my last whip. I am still working on my Stella quilt blanket. Let's see. I have 2 panels complete, and then this is the one that I'm working on. So if you watch my past podcasts, you've seen this. This is the yellow and blue one. I have a red and yellow one. And then this is the progress that I'm making on this third one. So I'm using the brown is the Friends Cotton 8/8, I think. And the green is a secondhand cotton. This orangey red is Queensland Coastal Cotton in the color Chili. And I am loving the color combination of this one specifically, and I don't know, I just feel like it's just like such a good little combination. And yeah, I'm excited to finish this one because I'm always at this point like ready to play around with the next color combination. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure what color combination I'll do next because, like I said, I have like blue and yellow, red and yellow, green and red. So maybe I'll do like blue and red next or something, maybe. But I mocked up what all the squares that I need for the size that I want it to be. Sorry, I keep adjusting my bandana. I have a really flat head, and so anytime I put something on my head like this, it just slides around. Okay, enough of that nonsense. But yeah, I mocked up all the squares that I need for what the final dimensions of the quilt would be. So I'll put that up on the screen because in my last podcast, I also talked about how I'm worried about the quilt star being too close together when I join them. And so I had the idea of doing a strip of solid color around the sides and then a little contrast square. So I started that on this one. So I started adding a navy border to this so that when I connect it with the next square, there'll be a little bit of a buffer between the stars. And then in the little square, so if you imagine I do another border on this one, there'll be a little square here. I'll do like a lighter, brighter color. And I feel like that would just like add a little bit more dimension to it and just like be a little bit more fun and add a like more, make it a little bit bigger too, because I'm pro gigantic blankets. My goal for this would be to have like a queen size blanket. So I think I'm doing like a 3x4 stars. So that would mean that I have to do 9 of 9 more. So that's, that is a lot. It's a lot of knitting, but that was that. Okay, let's move on to some acquisitions. Crinkle, crinkle, crinkle. Okay, the most exciting acquisition that I got in the mail since the last podcast is this green yarn from the brand Fiber MacGyver. This is the color Emerald and it's a Shanico DK. It's 100% Shanico wool. It's 3-ply. And yeah, it's this beautiful green color. I pre-ordered a sweater's quantity of this from Flock, and yeah, I got it in the mail this month, and I already swatched it up, and I'm like obsessed with how soft this wool is. It's crazy how soft this is. Like, there's not a single itchy element to it, and I'm really excited to like put this into a garment. So I picked out this green color because my mom requested a cardigan in her school color. She's a 6th grade teacher, and so she wanted a cardigan that like was school spirity, which I think is really cute. And this is the color of her. This is the exact color that she was looking for. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna knit the Eva cardigan by PetiteKnit. It's the pattern that she picked out from like all the patterns out there. Both her and my grandma picked out PetiteKnit patterns, which I think is really funny. But yeah, knitting 2 cardigans back to back is a little bit rough, especially 2 gift knit cardigans because there's a lot of purling involved. But I'm excited to cast this on once I finish my grandma's. I think I probably will cast on something for myself to like knit side by side with my grandma's cardigan, and then once I finish my grandma's cardigan, I'll cast on my mom's. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm like hoping that the like finish garment is really nice, and then maybe I'd want to use this yarn again, although this yarn is very expensive. And it's part of the reason that I like added the cashmere to my grandma's, because I think I spent like $250 on a sweater's quantity of this. And yeah, so my mom is a very lucky person. I mean, I'm very lucky to have her as my mom, so fair enough. But yeah, this is the swatch. I'm really happy with that. And then this month I went to Dallas for my friend's wedding, and I had a lot of fun. And the day that I was leaving, I had a little bit of time to like walk in the little town that we were in, and there was a yarn store within walking distance, which was really exciting. And so I decided to walk there and like take a little peek. I really wanted to get some like local yarn. I feel like that's such a fun like new travel thing that I can do that now that I'm like a knitter. I feel like it's so fun to be able to like go somewhere and like get yarn specifically from that place. But a lot of their hand-dyed yarn I wasn't like a fan of, and like their local stuff, yeah, just like I don't know, I didn't like fall in love with anything. But they had a big Noro yarn section, and I haven't really seen too much Noro in person, so I decided that maybe this would be my opportunity to try Noro. And so I got the Noro Campeto yarn, which is 35% silk, 35% cotton, and 30% polyamide. And it is in this really cool, like, colorful, flecky combination. And I really don't know what I'm going to knit with this, but it is super soft. I'm debating trying to knit socks with this because there is that polyamide elements to it, so maybe it will be sturdy enough for socks, but then also like the cotton and silk would be like more of a like summery sock rather than like a warm winter sock. But yeah, I only got one ball of it, so if you have any suggestions on what to do with this, I tend not to be the type of person that buys yarn just for the sake of buying yarn. I like buying yarn when I have a project in mind for it, but I don't know, I just really liked this. I don't think I have enough for like a t-shirt or anything, and I don't know if I would actually love a t-shirt. I don't think I would want like I don't know, maybe it would be okay in a hat or something, but it wouldn't be like a warm hat because it's cotton and silk. But I don't know. I really like it though, and I'm excited to like swatch it up and see like how it like knits together. That would be like a little fun thing to do. But that's that. Also in Dallas, I got cotton yarn. This is the Juniper Moon Farm Ultimate Pima cotton yarn, and yeah, it's 100% Pima cotton, and it's in this like yellow color. I got this because I figured that at some point in this blanket I'm gonna run out of yellow yarn. I feel like I'll run out of all the colors, so I just wanted to add, something to my stash to knit my Stella quilt blanket in. And this yellow is a little bit more of a green toned yellow than the yellow that I have in my blanket, which I thought could be a nice like balance to it. It doesn't really look, it honestly looks so similar. Maybe it's just the lighting, but yeah, just a cotton yarn. And then that's all I got in Dallas. And then a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I went to a Tea Cozy yarn shop because I was looking for a yarn color that was similar to the electric orchid that I ended up getting for this beanie. And they didn't really have anything that was in the bright like pinky purple realm. And so I was like, that's okay, I'll order the one that I wanted to get. But I didn't want to leave empty-handed, so I got some sock yarn. I got the Kelborn Woolens Perennial yarn, which is 60% Superwash Merino, 25% Surrey Alpaca, 15% nylon, and it is this like really fluffy plush yarn. I wanted to get some like white or cream sock yarn because that's the color of socks that I tend to like want to wear most of the time. And so I didn't have like this kind of color sock yarn yet. And I'm really excited to try this out because it's definitely fluffier than like the sock yarns that I've used before. So I feel like they'd be like really nice and cozy. And yeah, I'm excited to see the difference between this and the Lang Jawoll, which is like the only other fingering weight sock yarn that I've really used. Everything else that I've knit sock wise isn't like explicitly sock yarn, I don't think. I could be wrong, could be lying, but yeah, so I got this color, which is just called Natural, and then they had a bunch of minis, and so I decided to get the this one is the color Lead, to do maybe a contrast toe and heel, or just a toe. I would have preferred to get like a light gray, like a subtle contrast toe, because I think I definitely like contrast toes in my socks after like the socks that I've been knitting. It's just, I like the transition between that on the sock, but I wanted it to be subtle, and they didn't really have a light color. But I thought the gray could be kind of nice. So we'll see if I end up using this, or I end up using, I think I have a gray, like a medium gray instead. We'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited for these little socks. I feel like they'll be really nice and squishy and fluffy and all of that. This is also the first mini that I've ever gotten, and it's so cute. It's so cute. It's like, it's coming untwisted, but it's such a cute little like amount. Like, small things are cute. And I believe that's all of the things. All my finished objects, all my whips, all my acquisitions. I don't have any pottery updates to share. I feel like I've been like out of ideas for pottery. I have a few things that I like need to glaze that I'm gonna do tonight. So I probably will have some pottery stuff to share in the next episode. But I do have some beads to share. Let me get them because I don't think I pulled them out yet. Okay. So I have been trying to read the book The Artist's Way and do all of the things associated with that before I turn 30 in December. I thought it could be fun to do this like little like challenge and like reflective on like creativity and all that stuff as like I progress into this new decade of my life. If you don't know The Artist's Way, it's basically a book where there's a bunch of tasks and journal prompt type things to help unlock creativity. And I think it's specifically geared toward people who aren't as creative in their life as they want to be. And I've been enjoying reading it, but I have not been like holding myself accountable to like actually accomplishing all the things that you need to do in it. And there's like a strict like week timeline for it. So I'm trying to get myself back into it. But one of the things that you need to do every day is do like 3 pages of journaling in the morning, which I have been hit or miss on. But either way, I've been journaling a lot more than I was before doing this book. So I think it's a win in that space. The other thing that you do with The Artist's Way is every week you take yourself on an artist date. And I have been doing that, but also haven't. I feel like I've been like taking things that I've been doing through my week and just calling it my artist date versus being like intentional. And the artist date is basically you take yourself into the world in order to gain inspiration in some sorts. My first week of The Artist Way, when I was actually like really solid on like doing all the tasks for it, I decided to take myself to this place called Bead World. And it's a really, really cool store that I've been like wanting to go into. And they just have beads everywhere and like really cool beads. And I thought it could be fun to get some beads to make stitch markers. So I had the intention of going in there and getting a few things. And I ended up leaving with like so many beads. So I'm like kind of into beads now, which is a really fun like hobby to acquire, I feel like, and something that I hadn't been doing before. So yeah, I'm also thinking about making some keychains. I'm not like a huge keychain like person, but I kind of just want to make them for fun, and maybe I'll give them to people. But I did make some beaded items that I'll share. The first one that I made is this fish. I'll show some close-ups, but he has like a green top to his head, a blue stripe down the middle, red lips, and a yellow belly. And this is the first one I did. I did it with like a plastic cord, and he ended up like shrinking up and being this like 3D fish, which I was like, oh shoot, it's not like what I intended him to be. But ultimately, he's pretty cool. A lot of these I feel like are too big to use as an actual stitch marker, unless it's like a progress marker maybe. But he's pretty cool. And then I decided to try to use metal wire instead of the plastic, and that worked out a lot better. So this was my second little fish attempt. He has like little yellow lips, a blue top, a red belly, and like a dark navy tail. And then I wanted to get a little bit creative because for these I was referencing pictures on Pinterest, but I wanted to come up with my own little stitch pattern. And at the same time I was working on my ladybug socks. I decided to make this ladybug, and yeah, she's hanging upside down, just because of the way that I thought to do her. But she's pretty cute. She's not like the coolest thing ever, but I do like her. And then the last one that I made, I wanted to try to make a little tomato. I'll just show you. It's just like red with like this green star inside. I thought it was pretty cute. It's not perfect, and it doesn't really read super tomato-y, but it is cute. I do really like this one a lot. But those are kind of like the progress that I made so far into this like new hobby. But I haven't really touched this in a few weeks, so I'm excited to like make some more things. Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that, and I'm always excited to like pick up a new crafty hobby and like play around and explore like how to do things. I posted a video a few weeks ago now of like going through my craft closet. If you want to like see the history of all my crafts, I did it in like a very, very chill FaceTimey way, but I ran through excuse me, I ran through like all of my craft history in that. So if you're curious about all the stuff that I've done before, I talked about like stick and poke tattoos, I've talked about lino cutting, I've talked about there's so much stuff out there in the crafting world, and it's just like so fun to be like trying new things. So yeah, I mostly just have like my Stella quilt blanket and some gift knits. One of the next things that I want to make is the sailor slippers, which are a felted slipper pattern that's in testing right now from Annie Sews, and they're just like this striped felted slipper. And I'm really excited to like try and get into felting stuff because I feel like that can be just like so interesting to see how the fiber reacts and shrinks down and like compresses, and I feel like having some slippers would be really cute. I've been playing around with different color combinations for what I potentially want to do for that, and I might do some mismatch slippers, which could be kind of cute. And then one of the ideas that I wrote down in my like giant ideas notes app that I was like maybe gonna save for like when I actually do it, but I'll just tell you. I have this idea to do a felted tote bag, but I want to do one inspired by the like classic LL Bean bag that is like the solid dark color bottom with dark colored straps, and then the base of it being like cream. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I'll put one on the screen, but I want to make a felted version of that as like a little project bag slash, because I've been trying to go to more like crafty and knitting like meetups and things that I feel like I could just like bring my little project bag in that. And I mean the bag itself too. I think that'd be really cute. So yeah, I'm excited to try that. Again, I have a bunch of other ideas. I'm still like looming on the other sweater ideas that I had in my like ideation video, but I haven't really ordered yarn for anything, and I still am pretty like into some of those ideas, but I kind of wanted to give my like thick striped Olga sweaters some time to like be the new sweater, like the new kid on the block type thing, and like get somewhere out of that, and like try to incorporate wearing my knitwear before investing like time and energy into another sweater. So I'm giving a little bit of space for that to breathe while I work on some of these other things, especially because I have like some big gift knits that I'm working on. So I think it'll just be like little things that I work on for myself here and there. But yeah, I think that's about all I have. Thank you for sticking around this long. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're knitting away or crafting away or whatever you're working on and having a blast. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all those things, and follow me on Instagram at knitalee over there to see more regular updates. I've been really active and posting some fun things. So thank you. Okay, bye.